You are Locked On Braves POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, your team every day.
And hello and welcome into the Braves POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. Grant McAuley, Jake Mastroianni with you after yet another Braves victory over the Colorado Rockies. 8 more runs, and it was more than enough for the Braves to win this one. 8-1, the final score in Game 2 of this series as the Braves extend their winning streak to 4 in a row and just continue to do what they need to do against teams that they need to be beating up on. And that's exactly what happened at Truist Park on Friday night. We got lots to talk about. The start of Jared Shuster, some big-time offense led by Travis d'Arnaud, and, of course, we'll get you set up for Game 3 of the series coming your way on Saturday afternoon. Before we do any of that, I want to remind you to subscribe to Locked On Sports Atlanta right here on YouTube. Make sure you click the bell. You'll get notified every time we drop a new episode, and you can go ahead and hit that like button if you'd be so kind, and also tell a friend if you enjoyed the show, or if you're just checking us out for the first time. We appreciate you helping us grow the show, and make sure that you are subscribed to Locked On Braves wherever you get your podcast. Jake, lots of good stuff to get into in this one, but I feel like the Braves have this trend of being able to jump out to an early lead. And more times than not this year, it has been one of the keys to success, or one big ingredient in their recipe for the success they've enjoyed in 2023.
And a lot of times early in the year, especially, they'd get out to that big lead, but then they'd kind of, fall off a little bit and go a little quiet. But that hasn't been the case lately. They've been scoring early and then scoring often and continuing to add on and knock that starting pitcher out as they were able to do. So certainly great. Look, all those comeback wins are nice, but to have a couple of stress-free, pretty easy wins that you breeze through, that we'll take those as well.
Yeah, you'd like to take a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B as far as those wins are concerned. You'll take them any which way you can. As you know, on this show, I have a nice little saying, which is you can win ugly, you can never lose pretty. That's true, and the Braves didn't have to worry about any of that. This was just a good-looking victory from start to finish. Let's talk about a game number 70 for the Braves on the season, an 8-1 win over the Rockies. Colorado now 29-43 with the loss, a run on just 7 hits. No runs and 8 men left on base. Braves now 44-26 as they get to 18 games above 500. That's their high water mark this year. 8 runs, just 7 hits, but a whole bunch of Colorado walks helped out the Braves tonight. No errors and 2 men left on base for Atlanta. Jared Shuster pitched into the 6th inning, picked up the win. He's now 4-2. Dinelson Lamet was on the receiving end of a lot of early offense by the Braves as he was charged with, I believe, 5 earned runs across his 5 innings of work. 1-4 on the year. No save in a game that lasted just 2 hours and 14 minutes. Crowd of 41,214 paid to see it at Truist Park. Typically, we get into the starting pitcher and kind of see what was happening on the mound, but I feel like the early offense really stole the show in this one. And in particular, a gentleman named Travis d'Arnaud, who was behind the plate, helping out with Jared Shuster on this night, but really helping to put the Braves on the board in a big-time way. 100th home run of his career was a 474-foot monster. First of 2 home runs on the night for Travis d'Arnaud. Jake, that, I say, is a way to get to a milestone with some style points.
It is. And look, what an embarrassment of riches the Atlanta Braves have when you can sit down a guy, a catcher, the best catcher in the league, who's leading all qualified catchers in OPS by almost 100 points. And you put in Travis d'Arnaud, who has an OPS over 800 himself, has 4 RBI on this night, 2 home runs. And we know Travis, just what he means to this team and this clubhouse. He is one of those outspoken leaders, and he does a great job with the pitching staff. So to be able to plug a guy in like that, to give your everyday catcher a break, I mean, it just, and you put him 4th in your order, and he does stuff like this. I mean, really, where, there's only 1 hit out of the top 3 guys tonight. It was Travis d'Arnaud that got it done. So it's just, again, an embarrassment of riches to have a guy like Travis d'Arnaud, and just not what he means, on the field, but in the clubhouse as well. Just a really all-around great guy to have.
Yeah, the Braves were able to score an early run thanks to Ronald Acuña Jr. walking, stealing second, advancing to third, and then coming on home without the virtue of a hit. And then Travis d'Arnaud's 2-run homer, again, that monster, 474 feet, is the 4th longest home run in the young history of Truist Park. But that is some pretty good company he's in with the likes of Ronald Acuña Jr., Marcell Ozuna, Austin Riley, Bryce Harper. Those are some of the guys with the longest home runs in the history of that park. So Travis d'Arnaud putting his name on a pretty good list there. It capped a 3-run first inning. I actually sold Dinelson Lamet a little bit short. He was charged with all 8 runs on the night. The Braves jumped on him for the 3 very early, and it was Travis d'Arnaud's home run that got it all started. Travis was back at it again with his 2nd home run of this game a little bit later, another 2-run shot. Eddie Rosario had a 2-run homer in this game. The Braves didn't hit a ton of home runs, but when you put somebody on base and hit enough 2-run homers, some good stuff's going to happen. And for this Braves offense, as you mentioned, it wasn't the top three guys, though Austin Riley was kind of instrumental in helping out with a couple of walks and a couple of runs scored. But it's nice to see on a night where things were relatively quiet at the top that other guys, as you went down that line, were able to pick up and do the things you needed to, whether it was d'Arnaud or Eddie Rosario or some of the other cast of characters that all picked up some base hits toward the bottom of the order. And a very patient Braves lineup on this night as well, as they racked up, 6 walks in this game. So a pretty good one for the Atlanta Braves overall.
You probably should have had a couple more as well. I don't think Matt Olson was too thrilled with the strike zone tonight. Definitely should have at least had one walk, but frustrating night for him in this one. But yeah, I mean, the Braves only had 7 hits in this game, but they walked 6 times and they took advantage of those walks, following up with those big home runs. So it's just great. We talk about it all the time, just the depth of this lineup when they're going like this. And especially now you got Michael Harris going as well, who had another hit on this night. It leads to where you can have a night where Ronald Acuna Jr. doesn't get a hit. He still scored a run, impacted the game, but you can have Ozzie Albies go 0 for 4, Matt Olson go 0 for 4, and you can still score 8 runs on a night. It's just, again, speaks to how deep this lineup is, that other guys can step up, and it doesn't put as much pressure on some of the other guys in the lineup to have to be there every single night.
Yeah, having 1 through 9 be able to contribute is how the Braves wanted to design this thing, and it is, in fact, how it's played out more times than not. I mean, you're not going to win every single game. You're not going to put 8 runs up every single night, but there are different guys in this lineup that can come through with that base hit or that can beat the opponent on a given night as well. I talked a little bit about Ronald Acuna Jr., that stolen base. Even though he was hitless in this game, he drew that walk and stole the base, his 30th of the year already. That comes in game number 70. Big stat making its rounds on the social media side tonight was Ronald Acuna Jr., first player in baseball history with 15 homers and 30 stolen bases in his team's first 70 games. Just another accolade, Jake, that reminds you just how special the season Ronald's putting together is, and he still has a lot of baseball left to add to it to do some really special things as the year goes on as well.
I don't think it's going to be the last time we hear a stat about Ronald Acuna Jr. This is the first time it's ever been done. I mean, he's doing unprecedented stuff, just really incredible to watch. Again, like I said, on a night where he doesn't get a hit, he strikes out twice. Maybe one of those is a little questionable, probably too close to take there. But either way, still impacts the game, still gets on, is able to still score on a wild pitch. So, I mean, he does something every night to help your team win a game. And then again, you're going to continue to see stats like this that have never been done before, because I don't know that we've ever seen something like this before with the power speed combination that he has.
No, we haven't seen things like that. Now, I did some digging, as you probably imagined that I would, because I've been tracking some of the company that Ronald Acuna Jr. could keep if his pace continues. He could become the first player in baseball history to have 30 home runs and 60 or 70, depending on which day we're talking about, stolen bases in a season. That's the pace that he's on right now. 30-50 has only happened twice in baseball history. Eric Davis in 1987 did it, and I'm going to get to this in just a second, but Barry Bonds also did it in 1990. That's the list. Mike Trout was a stolen base shy in his rookie year. He was terrific, of course, there. Eric Davis is 1987. If Acuna is able to, channel the magic that Eric Davis was enjoying in that particular year, he joined the 30-30 club in the 90th game that he played that year. It was an absolutely absurd performance. By game number 70 that he played, now he didn't play in the first 70 games that the Reds played that year. He had some injuries, and of course he missed 33 games overall that season, but he was already knocking on the door of that with 20 plus homers, 20 plus steals. I mean, he is just a special kind of player that we'll always kind of ask what if. But with Ronald Acuna Jr., to make a nice segue here, I don't know that we have to ask the what if that we were asking a year ago. What if Ronald got a chance to get back and healthy and show you what he can do again? He has silenced, I think, a lot of doubters about what his ceiling was going to be and what kind of player he was going to be post the knee injury. And the stolen base storyline is one of the big ones for him. But cutting the strikeout rate the way that he has this year, a couple of strikeouts on this night, one that he was rung up on. You haven't seen too many multi-strikeout games for Ronald Acuna Jr. this year. I believe his K rate was down around 12 or 13%, which is absurd when you think about a couple of years ago. It was hovering near 30% during the COVID-shortened season of 2020. Jake, I don't know, and we could spend the whole rest of the show talking about it, if people realize exactly how prime Ronald Acuna Jr. has become here in his age 25 season.
It's truly remarkable. And coming off a season, as you said, where a lot of people started to question, will he ever get back to that pre-ACL injury form. And again, we've discussed it. I know a lot of us in Braves country certainly thought that he would, and I know Acuña certainly thought he would as well, and we're seeing that. But again, when I talk about Ronald Acuna Jr. and the things he's doing this year, and I know you've talked about it as well, cutting down on that strikeout rate, cutting it down 10% from where it was last year, that is just truly remarkable. And when you talk about how hard he hits the ball and he putting the ball in play more, obviously it's going to lead to more hits. It's going to lead to more production from Ronald Acuna Jr. And he's still hitting the ball extremely hard. You know, sometimes you think about people cutting their strikeout rate. Well, maybe it's because they're choking up, they're putting the ball in play with 2 strikes. That's not the case here. He's continuing to just mash the ball. So it's remarkable. Again, that strikeout rate being cut like it is, it's just, from where he was last year to where he is this year is just night and day, and so happy that we're able to see it.
Yeah, and more hard hit balls than 23 other clubs in Major League Baseball. That's ridiculous to think about as well. And as you look at Ronald and the Eric Davis comparison, which again I think is a pretty good one, just as a reminder of how ridiculous Davis was: 26 homers, 33 stolen bases in the first 70 games that he played in 1987. Ronald's not quite there, but he is doing things the likes of which not many people have seen or done before. 30th stolen base, that eclipses last year's total of 29. It's also just 7 away from his career high when he led the National League in 156 games played back in 2019. So Ronald is running quite a bit. Now we got to talk about the Braves pitching staff. Before we do, though, I want to remind you, as always, we got some great sponsors here on the Braves Postcast, and this episode is brought to you by Bird Dogs, the most comfortable, functional, and versatile shorts that you will ever find. They feel great and they fit great. You got to try these out and find out for yourself. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB. Enter the promo code LockedOnMLB. They'll throw in a free custom Bird Dogs Yeti-style tumbler with every order. As far as what the Braves had going on the mound on this night, Jared Shuster, 5 2/3 innings, 5 hits, 1 run. He ran into a little bit of 6th inning trouble, and Kirby Yates came on and cleaned that up for him. I thought 93 pitches out of Shuster was economical enough, again, to get him into the 6th inning, which the Braves will certainly take, as they're still, I think, trying to rest the bullpen just a bit after the doubleheader, and of course the Jesse Chavez injury. Kirby Yates, an inning and a third, 3 punch-outs, no walks, just 1 hit allowed. And then how about Ben Heller? I mean, this is a guy that was picked up kind of off the scrap heap from the Tampa Bay Rays, no less, which is a club that knows a little bit about stockpiling some talent. Heller made his first big league appearance since way back in September of 2020. He struck out 5 guys over 2 scoreless innings. So when you look at what the Braves got out of the pitching staff, Jake, not only did they get the start that they needed, they were able to minimize the use of their bullpen in a game that they were winning pretty handily and ended up winning quite handily as well.
Yeah, exactly what this pitching staff has needed after those doubleheaders, and I think they've definitely given the bullpen plenty of time to rest here. But Jared Shuster, since coming back after that first go-around to begin the year, he's gone at least 5 innings in all 6 of his starts and given up 3 earned or less. You will absolutely take that. Now, is there more? Yeah, I think there's certainly a step for him. He's hit a wall in the 6th inning in his last 3 starts. He's had trouble getting through that lineup a 3rd time, but you're talking about a 4th or 5th starter who is consistently going out there, being efficient, getting into the 6th inning with a low pitch count and keeping you in the game, even doing more than that. A lot of these he's giving up less than 3 earned runs. So he's doing exactly what the Braves have needed him to do. And do they need it? Because this rotation, as we all know, has been banged up. They're running out of options out there, and they really needed someone to step up. And I think Jared Shuster has definitely done that. And then, yeah, what a great job by Ben Heller, who came in and I thought really had some good stuff. I mean, good life on the fastball, mid-90s there, and to get touched in the 97s. I mean, really good stuff. Only 1 ball put in play against them, as you mentioned, with the 5 strikeouts. So, yeah, I mean, he looked really good as well. Don't exactly know what his future is, but I look forward to seeing him get another shot at it, because I was really impressed with what he threw out there on Friday night.
Yeah, it's nice to find those pieces to help you out, particularly when you lose somebody as useful as Jesse Chavez has been for the Braves bullpen throughout the course of this season. I mean, we talked about it when the injury happened. The Braves might have lost their best or most useful reliever this year, their most valuable reliever anyway, because, I mean, I know you can make a big case for a lot of other guys. And of course, you don't want to lose your closer the way they didn't have Iglesias for a month, but Jesse Chavez has come and he has worked in the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th inning, whatever it is. He's been able to take the ball. So you need somebody to be able to step in and help out with that. Michael Tonkin, the job that he did in game 1 of this series. Now you got Ben Heller coming in as a multi-inning option, and then 4 outs out of Kirby Yates. You know, coming into this game, I know that the walk rate has been something people have looked at a lot with Kirby, because especially early on in this first about 8 or so appearances, he was walking a lot of batters. But Opponents came into this game hitting a $165 against him. So he has not been very hittable this year, has been susceptible to the home run here or there. But if he starts to get things going all of a sudden, this is a bullpen that's really starting to find itself at the right time. And they have been extremely good in June. The Braves brought in two today when they got shutout ball for 3 1/3 more innings out of their bullpen, the second best ERA in the bullpen in the National League in the month of June. So some things are starting, Jake, I think, to come together. It's not always going to be perfect. It's not always going to be scoreless. But when you do look at it for comparison's sake, and they say comparison is the thief of joy, but not in this case, the Braves bullpen has been a little bit better than it may get credit for at times.
Yeah, I mean, obviously fans are going to remember the blow-ups and they're going to remember the blown saves, and, that's just part of it. But overall, yes, I think the bullpen's been good. And we've talked about Kirby Yates and Joe Jimenez needing those guys to step up, fill those roles that the Braves were hoping they would as setup men. And you mentioned Kirby Yates here lately, no walks in his last 4 appearances and 8 strikeouts. So that will certainly play. And you mentioned he's not getting hit either. So if he can turn things around and be that guy, and if Joe Jimenez, he continues to progress as well, I mean, I think we're looking at, again, what we thought could be one of the better bullpens in all of baseball. So those are certainly huge developments right there. But yeah, I think on the whole, if you look at this bullpen, I think it's probably better than a lot of fans think, because there have been some tough blown saves late in games, and they've had a couple of stretches there where they weren't good. But I mean, you could see where this bullpen could come together and all these guys start clicking the way that you hope, and it could be one of those best bullpens in baseball.
Yeah, and this is a very good time for the Braves bullpen to kind of find itself as the rotation is starting to normalize at least a little bit. You got Max Fried and Kyle Wright starting to work their progression through their throwing program to be back at some point in the second half. Maybe Fried back in July. Maybe you'll see Kyle Wright in August at some point to have another, 6-7 weeks where he can help the club down the stretch. But, those guys aren't walking through the door tomorrow. So the Braves bullpen doing what it's doing of late, particularly after the loss of Jesse Chavez, is a big-time development for this Atlanta club, which has climbed again to 18 games above 500 and has a pretty strong hold on the National League East, though they will tell you they're not really thinking about that right now. It is just about winning games, winning series, and moving forward. The Braves aren't going to get complacent no matter how much space they put between themselves and whoever's in second place. Right now it's the Marlins, and they've been a little bit of a surprising team as well in 2023. That, though, another story for another time. Let's look at Game 3 of the series. It happened Saturday afternoon at Truist Park. It's Bryce Elder, 4-1 with a 2.69 ERA. That's been on the rise of late. He'll be looking to put a couple of troublesome starts behind him as he faces off against Connor Siebold, who is 1-2 with a 4.70 for Colorado. He's the right-hander on the mound against Atlanta on Saturday. Jake, what do you think Bryce Elder needs to do to kind of get himself back on track? It seems like he's run into the big inning lately, and the home run ball has been flying a little bit more than it was in the first, 6, 7, maybe even 8 starts.
Yeah, try not to hang those sliders. I mean, that's really been it over his last couple of starts. I mean, I know he's given up a lot of runs in those last 2 starts, but when I just look at the overall stuff and the overall outings, I think it's been 2 of his better outings. He had the one where he had the 8 strikeouts a couple starts ago. So I've actually been really encouraged of what I've seen from him. It's really just been when he's made a mistake with that slider, he's really paid for it and given up some big home runs. So I'm looking forward to seeing him go back out there and have a good game against this Colorado team that's been very aggressive and taking a lot of swings. So you do that against Bryce Elder and he can get you at that weak contact. I think it could be a really good game for him.
Yeah, if he works kind of in the margins of the strike zone and is able to put the pitches where he wants to, he has carved up some lineups this year. It would be great to see him go out there and have one with a little less traffic on the bases, and certainly keeping the ball in the park would be big for him to just get one of those under his belt and get himself back on track. Elder gunning for his 5th win of the year against just 1 defeat. And again, Connor Siebold just 1-2 for Colorado. 4:10 p.m. Eastern time is the first pitch at Truist Park as the Braves and Rockies will battle on Saturday afternoon. Atlanta will be looking for another win to push their win streak to 5 in a row, and another win against Colorado would secure a series victory. And against a club like this that's kind of been down in its luck, Jake, you got to take advantage of the schedule where you can, and the Braves have done, for the most part, a decent job of that, even though there have been a couple of hiccups against the less than stellar opponents that they have had from time to time.
Exactly. Like you said, I mean, you go out to Oakland, lose a couple games, that tough one in Detroit. I mean, you got to take advantage here because the Marlins, as you mentioned, they're hot. The Phillies are getting hot as well. So you got to, keep that pace where it is and beat these teams that you should.
Yeah, and the Mets managed to find a club that's having a little bit tougher time than they are as of late as they ran into the St. Louis Cardinals. So you can't count anybody out. There's a whole lot of baseball left to be played, but the Braves are in the place that they want to be. That's winning baseball games and sitting in first place in the National League East. So look to keep it going on Saturday against the Colorado Rockies. Again, 4:10 p.m. Eastern time is the first pitch at Truist Park. That'll wrap things up here on the Braves Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube. Hit the bell to get notified. Go ahead, click that like button. And, of course, tell a friend. We appreciate everybody for checking out the show night after night and the kind words that we get both on Twitter and in person at the ballpark. I've been able to meet a couple of our listeners/viewers. I guess we call them here on YouTube. Really appreciate all the support that we get here. And make sure you're supporting Jake over on Locked On Braves. You get all the episodes of the Postcast and the other great content he has for you day after day, week after week, month after month, all year long. That'll wrap us up here on the Braves Postcast. Again, the Braves 8-1 winners over the Colorado Rockies on Friday night. We will catch you next time here on the show. For Jake Mastroianni, I'm Grant McAuley. So long, everyone.